Chosen one, pause for a moment. This message didn't just show up on your screen by coincidence. God led you here. He's confirming something you sensed, but maybe couldn't explain. That warning you felt in your spirit. The quiet tug, the uneasy feeling, the sudden change of plans. That was not just your imagination. That was God. And because you obeyed even when you didn't have all the answers, you just escaped a trap the enemy had set for you. This message is your confirmation. Your obedience saved you from something you couldn't even see. Before we go deeper, Chosen One, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation for your spirit. This is God speaking directly to the obedient, the listening, the ones who didn't ignore the warning. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through Super Thanks. God bless you richly. Your support, your presence, and your faithfulness do not go unnoticed. To all of you who continually watch, listen, and align, I'm truly grateful. If your spirit bears witness to this, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to the Most High in the universe that you are ready. Ready to keep walking in obedience. Ready to keep following divine instruction. Ready to receive the protection and blessings God has already written into your story. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message. Only the truly chosen. Those who stay will gain clarity, deeper awareness, and prophetic insight about the traps they've just been protected from, and the new doors God is opening for them. This isn't something you hear once and forget. This is a living word, a spiritual blueprint unfolding piece by piece. Watch it again whenever your spirit leads you, because each time another layer of divine truth will rise to the surface, confirming just how much your obedience matters. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The quiet voice that saved you. Chosen One. God rarely shouts, he whispers. His voice often comes so gently that if you aren't paying attention, you could miss it. It's not always dramatic like fire falling from heaven or a booming sound in the sky. Most of the time, his direction comes as a quiet stirring inside of you, a restlessness you can't explain, a sudden pause in your spirit or a subtle knowing that tells you, this isn't right. Don't move yet. Think about it. How many times have you been on the edge of making a choice, and deep down something inside you said, wait, that wasn't random. That was the Holy Spirit pulling at your spirit, warning you of something you couldn't see. It may have been a job you thought you wanted, a relationship you were excited about, or an opportunity that looked golden on the outside. To the natural eye, it all seemed perfect, but heaven saw the trap. Many people ignore that voice because it doesn't always align with logic or with what they want in the moment. They brush it aside and say, maybe I'm just overthinking or I'm being too cautious. But Chosen One, you didn't dismiss it. You listened. You trusted that still, small whisper even when you didn't have proof, even when it made you look strange to others, and that single act of obedience rerouted your entire path. What you don't realize is that your no in that moment saved you from years of unnecessary pain. It may have saved you from heartbreak, from betrayal, from wasted time, or even from destruction that was waiting around the corner. God didn't need to show you the full picture, because your obedience was enough to block the danger. While others may have walked blindly into the enemy's net, you shifted direction without even knowing why. And heaven celebrated because you obeyed. Chosen One, never underestimate the power of that quiet voice. It's more powerful than thunder, more protective than walls of iron, more precise than any human reasoning. The same God who split the Red Sea for Moses is the same God who spoke to you in a whisper and turned your feet away from danger. He doesn't always need to shake the earth to save you. Sometimes he just needs you to lean in close enough to hear his breath. Understand this. Your sensitivity to that whisper is not weakness. It's a sign that you are chosen, that your spirit is awake, and that heaven is actively guiding your steps. Others may call it paranoia, but you know it was the Spirit of God. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that what felt like a small hesitation was actually the hand of God pulling you out of the lion's den before you ever even saw the lions. That quiet voice saved you. It protected your destiny, and it confirmed once again that you are not walking alone. You are being divinely guided every step of the way. Chapter 2. Obedience when it doesn't make sense. Chosen One, let's be real. Obedience to God doesn't always feel good. In fact, most times it feels uncomfortable, even frustrating, because it interrupts our carefully built plans. You had it all lined up in your mind. You thought this was the moment. This was the door. This was the relationship. This was the opportunity that would finally make sense of all the waiting. And then suddenly something shifted. The door that looked wide open slammed shut. The person you thought would be with you forever disappeared. The plan you invested your heart in fell apart. It hurt. It left you confused. It made you question if you missed it somehow. But chosen one, what you didn't see was the trap on the other side of that perfect picture. God's warning wasn't him rejecting you. It was him protecting you. Understand this. When you belong to God, your life is not random. He orders your steps. And sometimes that means he has to interrupt what you thought was right in order to save you from what would have destroyed you. You may not realize it now, but the delay you faced was divine. The breakup you went through was necessary. The lost opportunity was intentional. The unanswered prayer was strategic. Heaven was guarding you while you were mourning. Think about it. If you had pushed past the check in your spirit and forced your way into that situation, what would have happened? Maybe that job that looked stable would have drained your purpose. Maybe that relationship that looked loving would have ended in betrayal. Maybe that quick opportunity that seemed promising would have robbed you of years of your destiny. God knew. That's why he whispered. That's why he shut the door. That's why he pulled you back even when you didn't want to stop. Chosen one, obedience when it doesn't make sense is the highest form of trust. Anybody can obey when God's instruction aligns with their desires. But it takes true faith to say yes when your flesh wants to say no, or to walk away when everything in you wants to hold on. That's the kind of obedience that sets you apart. That's the kind of obedience that proves you are chosen. And here's the truth. One day you will look back and thank God for every closed door, every blocked plan, and every sudden stop. You'll see clearly that what felt like rejection was really redirection. You'll understand that God wasn't trying to punish you. He was trying to preserve you. And you'll realize that his no saved your life just as much as his yes blessed it. So if right now you're in a season where something didn't go as planned, don't lose heart. Don't let confusion convince you that God abandoned you. He didn't. He's protecting you from something you don't see yet. Obedience may feel painful in the moment, but it is always worth it in the end. Chapter 3. The traps are not always obvious. Chosen one. One of the greatest deceptions of the enemy is that his traps rarely look like traps. He is strategic. He studies you. He knows your desires, your weaknesses, even the prayers you've whispered in secret. And because he cannot create, he counterfeits. He imitates. He dresses up his snares to look like the very thing you've been waiting for. That's why his attacks don't always come in the form of obvious danger. They come wrapped as blessings, opportunities, friendships, shortcuts, or even answered prayers. The trap might look like a dream job that promises quick success, but slowly pulls you out of alignment with your calling. It might appear as a perfect partner who says all the right words but carries hidden intentions that would break your spirit. It might even come as a once-in-a-lifetime deal that looks too good to pass up, but is designed to rob you in the long run. The enemy rarely shows you the snake in the grass. He shows you the green pasture. He rarely shows you the chain. He shows you the golden cup. He rarely shows you the pit. He shows you the path paved with glitter. That's why discernment is not optional. It is survival. And chosen one, this is where your obedience to the whisper of God saved you. You felt that check in your spirit, that sudden uneasiness that something isn't right, a feeling you couldn't explain with words. To others, the opportunity looked flawless. To you, it looked almost too good to be true. And while others might have mocked you for hesitating, you trusted your spirit more than your sight. That pause, that refusal to ignore the inner warning, just saved you from devastation. Let's be clear, traps are not just about losing money or time. Some traps are designed to steal your peace, entangle your soul, or derail your destiny for years. A counterfeit relationship can drain your energy and silence your purpose. A false opportunity can waste seasons of your life. A wrong connection can shift you off the path God designed. The enemy is not just after your moment, he is after your future. That's why he tries to lure you in with what looks appealing, hoping you won't see the hidden hook behind the bait. But chosen one, you are not like everyone else. You carry discernment, sharpened through your wilderness seasons. God trained your ears in isolation, so you would know his voice above all the noise. You've learned the hard way that not everything good is God, and not every open door is meant for you to walk through. Because you obeyed that nudge, you didn't just avoid trouble. You protected your destiny. Think of it this way. What you turned down wasn't just a small decision, it was a turning point. If you had ignored the Spirit, you might have walked into years of regret. Instead, your obedience closed the enemy's trap before it could close around you. That's the power of discernment. It saves you from battles you never even have to fight. So never let anyone make you feel strange for saying no when your spirit says no. Never doubt yourself for walking away from what looked perfect on paper but felt wrong in your heart. That is the mark of the chosen. You see what others can't, you hear what others ignore, and because of it, you survive what others fall into. Chapter 4. Your obedience activated heaven's protection. Chosen one, you must understand this powerful truth. Every time you obey God's warning, you activate a chain reaction in the spiritual realm. Obedience isn't just about making the right choice. It's a spiritual key that unlocks heaven's protection over your life. When you align with God's voice, heaven aligns with you. Angels are dispatched. Paths are redirected. Invisible walls of protection rise up around you. Think about it. When you said no, even though everything in your flesh wanted to say yes, you weren't just making a natural decision. You were making a spiritual declaration that said, I trust God more than I trust what I see. And that single decision was enough to trigger heaven's response. Angels were immediately assigned to block the enemy's plan. What looked like a simple choice in the natural was actually a battlefield victory in the spirit. You may not realize this, but your act of obedience shut down entire strategies the enemy had been working on behind the scenes. He had set up traps. He had orchestrated distractions. He had placed counterfeits in your path, hoping you would take the bait. But the moment you obeyed that quiet voice, heaven stepped in and dismantled the blueprint of destruction he had prepared. What could have taken you years to recover from never even had the chance to touch you, because heaven intercepted it on your behalf. Obedience doesn't just keep you safe. It positions you. When you walked away from that person, that deal, that opportunity, you didn't just avoid pain. You walked straight into alignment with God's timing and provision. Sometimes the blessing is not just in what you gain, it's in what you escape. And chosen one, your obedience saved you from losses that would have drained your spirit and delayed your purpose. You see, heaven doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to obedience. You can pray all day, fast for weeks, and declare scripture. But without obedience, those actions lack power. Yet the moment you choose to obey, even when it costs you, the atmosphere shifts. The heavens open. Angelic forces are released to guard you, guide you, and fight on your behalf. That's why the enemy works so hard to push you toward disobedience. Because he knows your obedience is the trigger that activates God's covering over your life. Chosen one, your obedience didn't just protect you from a trap. It positioned you for a blessing. Every no you said to temptation prepared you for God's yes in your destiny. Every closed door you accepted with humility brought you closer to the door God himself will open. Your obedience was not wasted. It was an investment. And the return on that investment is divine protection, divine favor, and divine acceleration. So never think lightly of the choices you make in secret. Heaven sees, heaven responds, and heaven rewards. The enemy saw you walking into his net, but God saw you turning away. And in that moment, angels were commanded to cover you. Your obedience didn't just save your life, it secured your future. Louis adds chapter 5, the blessing in the delay. Chosen one, you need to see this clearly. What you call a delay is often God's greatest form of protection. To your natural eyes, it feels like you've been left waiting, like time is slipping through your hands, like doors keep closing while everyone else is walking into their season. But in the spirit realm, every closed door was God himself, standing in front of you saying, not this one, not yet. Trust me, the job you didn't get, the phone call that never came, the relationship that suddenly ended, the trip that never happened, those weren't accidents. Those were interventions. They were divine redirections, shielding you from battles you weren't meant to fight. They were God's way of pulling you off the enemy's chessboard before you became a pawn in his game. The enemy loves impatience. He wants you restless. He wants you desperate. He wants you so hungry for the blessing that you'll accept the counterfeit, because he knows that if you step into something before the appointed time, it won't strengthen you. It will weaken you. A premature blessing can crush you just as much as an outright curse. That's why God, in his mercy, slows you down, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Not to deny you, but to prepare you. Think about a fruit picked before it's ripe. It looks appealing on the outside, but the taste is bitter and it lacks nourishment. The same is true of blessings outside of their season. God knows the exact moment when the fruit of your labor will be ready, sweet, sustaining, and satisfying. Until then, He will not let you pick it too soon. Chosen one, your waiting season has not been wasted. Every delay has been filled with purpose. Every pause has been a classroom where heaven trained your patience, sharpened your discernment, and matured your spirit. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of the wait. The delay has stretched you, humbled you, and carved into you the wisdom you'll need to carry what's coming. Look at the story of David, anointed as king while still a shepherd boy. Yet he didn't take the throne immediately. Years passed. He faced rejection, battles, and exile. To some it looked like delay, but in reality it was preparation. By the time David sat on the throne, he wasn't just a boy with oil on his head. He was a warrior, a worshipper, and a man after God's heart. The waiting made him ready. The same principle is true for you. The closed doors you cried over, the unanswered prayers you questioned, the seasons that felt like standstill. Those were not setbacks. They were blessings in disguise. God was protecting you from people who would betray you, from environments that would drain you, and from opportunities that would derail you. Chosen one, hear this. The delay is not God ignoring you. It is God perfecting you. It is His hand positioning you for something greater than you could ever build on your own. And when the appointed time comes, when God finally says, now is the moment, everything will align so smoothly, so quickly, that you'll forget the pain of the waiting. The same delay that once frustrated you will be the very thing you thank Him for. So don't despise the delay, embrace it, because hidden inside it is your greatest blessing. Chapter 6. Others won't understand, but obey anyway, chosen one. One of the greatest challenges of walking in obedience is this. You will often look foolish to others while you're being faithful to God. People around you will not always see what you see. They won't hear the voice that you hear. They won't feel the stirring in your spirit or the uneasiness in your heart when something is wrong. And because they don't discern what you discern, they may label you paranoid, overly cautious, dramatic, or even afraid. They may say, "Why would you back out of that deal? That was the opportunity of a lifetime." Or, "Why would you stop talking to that person? They seem so good for you." Or, "Why did you cancel those plans? Everything was already set." To them, your actions are confusing, but to you, your actions are obedience. Here's the truth, chosen one. This journey is between you and God. His instructions are not sent out to a group chat for everyone's approval. They are whispered into the depths of your spirit. They don't require consensus. They require trust. And while others see missed opportunities, heaven sees a chosen one walking in alignment, stepping away from traps they couldn't see, and preserving a destiny that others would have carelessly thrown away. Look at the story of Abraham. God told him to leave his country, his family, and everything familiar and go to a land He would show him. Imagine the whispers from his neighbors. Imagine the questions from his relatives. Why would you leave everything behind on the word of a God you can't see? Yet Abraham obeyed. He didn't wait for their understanding. He trusted God's leading. And his obedience birthed a covenant that still blesses generations today. Or think of Joseph. His brothers never understood his dreams. They mocked him, hated him, and eventually betrayed him. But Joseph didn't abandon the vision God gave him. But here's the secret. God never asked you to be understood. He asked you to be faithful. Obedience is not always glamorous. It won't always be celebrated. At times it will feel lonely, because God's instructions will separate you from the crowd. But don't confuse separation with abandonment. Heaven is closer to you in those moments than you realize. The angels assigned to your destiny are surrounding you. And God Himself is smiling because you chose His voice over human approval. And here's what you must remember. In due time, your obedience will speak louder than any explanation ever could. The people who doubted you will one day see the evidence of God's hand on your life. The doors He opens for you will silence their questions. The protection He provides will expose why He told you to walk away. The blessing that follows your obedience will make it undeniable that you were right to listen. So don't waste your energy trying to explain what God told you in private. Don't defend your obedience to those who don't walk in your spirit. Just obey, just trust, just keep moving. Chapter 7. Your obedience today guarantees your future. Finally, chosen one, understand this truth. Your obedience to God's warning today is not just about this moment. It is about the entire blueprint of your future. Every time you listen to that still small voice, you are aligning yourself with destiny. Every time you choose restraint over indulgence, caution over impulse, silence over compromise, you are saying to heaven, I trust you more than I trust myself. That trust is the currency of faith, and faith always produces fruit. Think about it. How many people ignored the same kind of warning and ended up in places they were never meant to be? Broken by connections they should have avoided, delayed by decisions they should have declined, and burdened by consequences that could have been avoided. But you, because you obeyed, you broke the cycle. You stepped out of the pattern that traps the majority. You became the exception. And that obedience didn't just protect your today, it secured your tomorrow. You may never know the full extent of the trap you avoided, but heaven knows. Heaven saw the plan forming, the scheme waiting, the danger lurking. Heaven saw the plate prepared, the table set, the words being sharpened, the distraction dressed as opportunity, and heaven intervened. When you chose to obey, you silenced a storm before it ever reached you. You cancelled a battle before it ever began. You destroyed a weapon before it could ever fire. Chosen one, understand this. Obedience is not weakness, it is warfare. The enemy relies on your disobedience to gain access to your life. Every act of rebellion becomes an open door, but every act of obedience becomes a wall of fire around you, a hedge of protection, a seal that no darkness can penetrate. That one decision to listen to the Spirit is the reason you're standing free today while others are still bound. And because you obeyed, God is about to honor you in ways you cannot yet see. He is opening the eyes of your discernment. What was once cloudy will now be sharp. The Spirit will alert you even faster, and your steps will become more precise. Favor is about to locate you, not because you chased it, but because obedience magnetized it to your life. The protection you experienced will now turn into provision. The warning that saved you will now turn into wisdom you can use to guide others. This is your divine confirmation. The trap was real, but it failed. The enemy planned it carefully, but God dismantled it completely. The plot was written, but the script was torn. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, not because it wasn't formed, but because your obedience disarmed it. So, chosen one, keep listening, keep obeying, keep leaning into the Spirit, even when it makes no sense, even when people mock you, even when others call you paranoid. They don't hear what you hear. They don't carry what you carry. Your path is different because your calling is higher. And your obedience is not just saving your life. It is securing the lives of generations connected to your assignment. Your obedience is your shield. Your obedience is your weapon.